And finally, don't be afraid to talk to legal professionals who specialize in financial fraud and investor protection. They can help you understand your options and maybe even recover some of your lost funds.
Remember, you have rights and you don't have to go through this alone.
We really recommend contacting Insolvency and Law. They do in-depth risk assessments and have a great track record investigating financial misconduct. They can help you figure out what to do next.
Their email is investigations@insolvencyandlaw.co.uk. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need help or advice. They're a fantastic resource for anyone who's been in a situation like this now. For everyone listening who might not be directly affected by this specific case, let's zoom out for a second. What does this whole Ashbrookes story tell us about being a savvy investor and spotting those warning signs?
It's a great example of why you can't just take things at face value, especially when it comes to your money. A company can have a fancy website and make big promises, but that doesn't mean anything. You have to dig deeper, ask tough questions, and look past the surface.
Because sometimes that shiny exterior is hiding something rotten. It's like a house that looks beautiful from afar, but then you get closer and see the cracks.
Exactly. This case also shows how important transparency is in the financial industry. We have regulations, but there's always someone trying to find a loophole and operate in the shadows.
That's why we need organizations like the FCA and the SFO. They need the resources to investigate and hold people accountable, but they can't do it alone. We all have a responsibility to make the financial system more transparent and accountable.
Absolutely. And on that note, this case raises some serious questions about security trustees and their role in protecting investors.
Because they should be impartial, right? Making sure everything's above board and the investor's money is safe.
Exactly.
Sure.
But as we've seen here, things can get messy when those trustees have personal ties to the companies or people involved.
It's like putting a fox in charge of the hen house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It creates a conflict of interest and undermines their whole purpose. This is why we need stricter rules and more oversight for security trustees to make sure they're truly independent and looking out for the investors.
Trust is so important for a healthy financial system. If we lose trust, the whole thing falls apart.
You're right. The Ashbrookes case is just one example of how damaging financial misconduct can be. It affects individuals, families, even whole economies. We need to be vigilant, raise awareness, and work together to make sure everyone's acting ethically now. As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with another question to think about.
All right, hit me with it. What should our listeners be pondering?
We live in a world with so much information, but it can be overwhelming. How can we become smarter about the financial information we're consuming? How can we learn to spot those red flags, avoid scams, and protect our finances?
Those are great questions, and questions we'll keep exploring in the final part of our deep dive.
But for now, remember, knowledge is power. The more you know, the better equipped you'll be to handle the complexities of finance and make good decisions.
Well, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the Ashbrookes Group Limited loan note investigation, and I gotta say, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? We've uncovered a ton of concerning information, enough to make any investor a little nervous.
It's easy to get caught up in all the numbers and legal stuff, but let's not forget about the real people involved in this. There are people who put their trust and their hard-earned money into Ashbrookes Group Limited, hoping for a better future.
Yeah, absolutely. For some people, this could be their life savings, their retirement plan, their dream of financial security, and to have that put at risk by these questionable practices and potential misconduct, well, it's just heartbreaking.
You're right. These stories are a reminder that our financial choices have real consequences, and we need to be responsible not just for ourselves, but for others too.
So for our listeners who might be feeling overwhelmed or even a little discouraged by all of this, what's the most important thing to remember? What can we learn from this experience, and how can we move forward feeling more confident as investors?
I think one of the biggest takeaways here is the power of knowledge. The more we know, the better decisions we can make, and the better we can protect ourselves from getting hurt. This whole deep dive has shown us that even investments that look totally legit can still be risky.
So we can't just take a company's word for it or rely on their marketing materials, no matter how impressive they might seem.
Exactly. We have to be proactive, do our own research, ask the hard questions, and really dig into the details. Remember, it's your money, your future, your peace of mind that's on the line.
This case also shows why it's so important to diversify your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Spread your risk around, talk to a financial advisor, and make sure your investments match your goals and how much risk you're comfortable with.
And don't forget about the power of community. If you've been affected by financial misconduct or you're worried about an investment, reach out to those support groups and organizations we mentioned earlier. Sharing your story and connecting with others can make a big difference. It can help you feel empowered during a tough time.
Absolutely. There's strength in numbers. Knowing you're not alone can make all the difference in the world.
As we wrap up our deep dive into the Ashbrookes Group Limited loan note investigation, let's leave our listeners with one last thought. In a world where we're constantly bombarded with information, it's so important to be a little skeptical, to question what we hear, and to look for different perspectives.
Don't be afraid to challenge the way things are, to demand transparency, and to hold those in power accountable. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more informed we are, the better equipped we'll be to create a more responsible and ethical financial world for everyone.
The path to financial well-being is a journey. It takes constant learning, adapting, and being aware. Stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another investigation, uncovering the truth and helping you make smart financial choices. Until then, stay safe and stay savvy.